I met a traveler from an antique land who said,
Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculpture, well those passions red which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal, these words appear.
My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty and despair.
Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of the colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away.
Ozymandias, Ramesses II, a great Egyptian pharaoh in the ancient days. Later called Great Ancestor, he believed his legacy would last forever. Contributing his life to mighty deeds, he was certain the Egyptian empire would withstand. What Ozymandias didn't know was that the power of time was greater than any power he ever possessed, and would withstand anything he ever accomplished. Indeed, the legacy he built up was impressive, yet in the end, it would blend in and be swept away by the rolling sea. The greatness of a man, no matter how powerful, can't stand up against the power of time and nature. The speaker of the poem is hearing a traveler tell a story about a disintegrating statue of a once mighty pharaoh who hoped that his legacy would last forever. But in the end, it was overcome by the unstoppable force of time. The flashback to the recollection takes place in Egypt in the modern era. The poem is addressed to the general audience living after the reign of Ramesses II.
The statue discussed in this poem is a symbol of Ramesses II himself. A lifeless, inanimate object represents the pharaoh that was, the legacy he hoped to leave, and the stone wreck that remained long after his death. This poem has a cautionary and melancholy tone. Melancholy because absolute greatness became a colossal wreck, boundless and bare, no longer representing power and might, but merely an obscure boulder in a vast desert. Perhaps it reflects how the pharaoh himself would have felt if he knew beforehand what his legacy would become throughout the course of history. This cautions the audience and reminds them that the endless clock of the world ticks louder than the greatness of any man. The diction in this poem contrasts Ozymandias' view of his own power with the reality that his power stood nothing against the force of time. Using the words king and pedestal, the poet portrays Ozymandias' belief that his legacy and power would last forever. Time proved his assumption incorrect, and his legacy was nothing more than a lifeless, boundless and bare moment in time. Ozymandias ironically suffered the despair that he imposed upon his subjects during his reign. After nature took its course, his statue and memory were forgotten and lost among the sands.
The image of a crumbling statue of the once great Ramesses II dominates the desert landscape. The statue used to be a daunting tribute to the greatest pharaoh to ever rule over the kingdom of the Nile, and now it is nothing but a half-sunk acknowledgement of what used to be. The desert has reclaimed what Ramesses built his empire upon, and the unstoppable force of time shrunk the memory of Ramesses II into the depths of history. All that remains are two vast and trunkless legs of stone that stand alone with nothing to support. The legs of the foundation of Ramesses the Great, but he has long since fallen, swept away, and crumpled by the sands of the vast Egyptian desert. The poem is broken up into two sections, an 11-line sentence followed by a 3-word sentence as a shift. The first 11 lines are a physical description of the statue, as well as an account of the legacy Ozymandias felt he would leave behind. He believed himself to be all-powerful and mighty, hence the capitalization of the letter M. Unfortunately, his power was nothing against the dominance of time, and his name wasn't long-lived, as emphasized by the 3-word shift of nothing beside remains. The poem is an Italian sonnet in iambic pentameter. It has an unusual rhyme scheme of A-B, A-B, A-C-D, C-E-D, E-F, E-F, not typical for Petrarchan sonnets. The poet also uses alliterations such as cold command, boundless and bare, and lone and level for emphasis. As seen from the mentioned literary devices and the poem's structure, the theme is strongly supported throughout the entire poem. Because this is a romantic poem, qualities such as nature, the past, individualism, and the humble life are obvious.